From the center of the galaxy, this is ForceCenter, a show about Star Wars, pop culture, and the ultimate adventures, the ups and downs of life itself. I'm Ken Napzok.
I'm Joseph Scrimshaw.
And I'm Jennifer Landa.
And we're here to discuss Star Wars news, our chance to catch up with the breaking news from a long time ago. Sometimes it's a day or a week. It's our chance to sit down and dig into it. Before we get to that, though, we want to let you know, as always, today's podcast is brought to you by Audible. Get a free audiobook download and a 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/ForceCenter. Over 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. And whatever comes after that, I'm sure they'll add it. We'd like to recommend a book here right now for you to try out, Path of Deceit by Justina Ireland and Tessa Gratton. Tessa Gratton, excuse me. My mouse was literally over Gratton. I was like, I know it's Gratton. Why did I say Grafton? To download your free audiobook today, go to audibletrial.com/ForceCenter. Again, that's audibletrial.com/ForceCenter for your free audio book. We've been saying it for a long time, but we'll say it now. It really helps us when you do that and try the show. It's a book for you and support for us. Joseph, that's our A, Audible. We got an A for Ask.
Yeah, and a quick shout out to that book, Path of Deceit. Switched it up in Audible because we had been doing that one forever when we thought is a recommendation when we thought we were skilled going to be able to keep up with the High Republic. But I did read that one, and it's really good. I think if you've never read High Republic, you can just jump in. And it's on my mind because I think it's got some similar ideas and themes to the Acolyte, of some sort of people with a different approach on the Force who really question the Jedi. So if you're in that whole mood of, ooh, cool people questioning the Jedi, Path of Deceit is a good one for you. In terms of our asks, we are asking humbly, please, sir, may we have some more YouTube subscribers? In particular, we would love to get to 9,000 subscribers by the time of the Acolyte premiere. Will we make it? Probably not. But that's what the fun thing is about a goal, is to overstretch a little bit to see how far we can get. We started doing this last week, and we did get a little uptick in YouTube subscribers. We've had continual growth, huge bump from Jennifer's Wonderful Jedi Beat episodes, and continual growth is, I think, people on the YouTube side of things find ForceCenter and getting a lot of nice comments that they enjoy the deep dives and the friendly space where even if we don't like something, we try to say it nicely. So if that sounds good to you or friends you have, go ahead and subscribe over there on YouTube. That is it for the asks, which means we're on to Star Wars and life adventures. All three of us, I think, have been having some busy lives outside of ForceCenter, but Ken, you in particular, had one of those big moments in life happen. It is also going to kind of affect the number of episodes that we're able to put out this week, because life is more important than the number of podcast episodes we put out in a week. Ken, do you want to share about your adventure?
Yeah, absolutely. Darkness rises and light to meet it. This is me trying to find the light. Yeah, we lost one of our dogs quite suddenly, our Baxter boy, who was 17 and lived just a full, wonderful life up until the very end. Unfortunately, had a major seizure that required us to take him to a pet ER, and he didn't make it. And yeah, devastated. Wouldn't be the first time I get overly emotional on a ForceCenter podcast, but I'm just trying to find that balance, because I have another dog that's also hurt and screaming in pain every 10 minutes because of another thing going on. And so finding the joy, finding the. I'm trying to have that. I'm trying to listen to Shmi in my ear go, don't look back. This is a change, right? Death is a change, and trying to not forget, but let go of this chapter of our journey with this wonderful dog. So tough. Appreciate the support. Some people have reached out already. When I don't often go on social media anymore, but I need to pay a little tribute. So I wrote something on Instagram and showed up on Facebook too. So appreciate all the kind words. But we're here, and I'm good, and I always head down into the studio is good work. I think burying emotions in recordings is a good thing, right?
Well, it was a beautiful tribute to Baxter. Not to burying emotions. You put some beautiful tributes to burying emotions on social media as well, but this time it was a beautiful tribute to a wonderful friend. I always think about I don't have pets as an adult because sadly my wife is allergic to the fur. She can't be around it all the time. But growing up with the pets, I'm so glad I did, knowing how much they mean to people. And I remember to this day, in grade school, being asked as homework to write a list of your family, and me writing down Dusty, and my teacher being like, we know your siblings. You have one brother. What's a Dusty? I'm like, it's my poodle. And like, take that dog off there. And like, that teacher was wrong.
Wrong.
Pets are part of the family, and you are not alone in your love and your grief now, Ken.
Thank you. No, so true. To Dusties, to Baxters, to Ratsies, to Nikos, to all the dogs out there.
Jennifer, what were your thoughts on Ken's adventure and your own Star Wars Life adventures this week?
Oh, Ken, my heart just goes out to you. Your beautiful tribute. I mean, people don't understand. It's not a pet, right? It is a member of the family. It's a source of comfort. It's your little buddy that you cuddle up with on the couch. So it just, yeah. It's tough.
I've had more conversations with him in the last 2 years than humans. So
right. I had a Chihuahua, and there is something special about. Well, Baxter was a Chihuahua, yeah.
He was a purebred Chihuahua. Yeah, he was a show dog back in his early days, but a mighty steed, the king of Burbank, we called him until the very end.
King indeed. Yeah. Well, speaking of tiny creatures, I've stumbled upon an incredible Ewok sculpture by Sideshow Collectibles and an artist called Mob Graves. And I had a moment where I was like, how many more Ewoks do I need? But this one is very, very special. And I just think it's always fun to get a different artist's take on these Star Wars characters that we love so much. And the Ewok is pink. And it's for pre-order. I have not pre-ordered it because I can't yet. But that Ewok, I think about it every day and where I would want to display it and would it bring me joy and, all these things that we wrestle with as collectors, especially an aging collector like myself, where I'm like, do I need more collectibles? The answer to that is no. But this one is very special. So go check it out. It's on Sideshow Collectibles, and I'll live vicariously through you all who get it.
That was kind of my Star Wars adventure this week, Jennifer. Is I made a choice late on Sunday night on the anniversary of the Phantom Menace. There'd been a thing I've been looking at on eBay, and I did the whole dance like, it's kind of larger. I certainly don't need it. We did that wonderful live stream that Ken and I did. We had a ton of fun. You were missed, Jennifer. People sharing their memories of Phantom Menace, people from all ages and experiences, and it was absolutely great. Experimented with call-ins. We got to hear some of our listeners' voices. Absolutely wonderful. And I thought, that's good enough. I don't need to do anything else. I don't need to buy something to celebrate the anniversary. And then it was like 11:57. I was already in bed. I wasn't drunk. I was tired. I was drunk with tired, and I bought on eBay from 1999 the Taco Bell Darth Maul cup topper. I never had any of them.
Oh, they're so cool.
People love collecting them, and they love look at my weird Boss Nass or whatever. And I was like, there had to be a Maul one, right? A Darth Maul. And then I looked at it and like, oh my God, it's like a spoiler because it's only stop half. I need it. So I did. I bought the Darth Maul cup topper. And my life's already better for it. Hasn't even arrived yet, and it's already made my life better. So,
yeah, I never owned one either. So this is a correction that needed to be made for one of us.
Yeah, so maybe the cup's practical. I'll be using it on the show from now on, I'm sure. Yes. So life adventures, the good, the bad, the cup topper. What are you gonna do? We are going to talk some breaking news. There's a lot of new Acolyte news. There was a new teaser commercial that I think was kind of just on Reddit and then was officially released. And there was an extensive article, an interview in SFX magazine. So we're going to kind of weave those two Acolyte news stories together, the new 30-second promo spot and the SFX magazine interview with producer Rayne Roberts, general producer who's been working with Lucasfilm for quite a while now, but specifically a producer on the, I was going to say the High Republic, on the Acolyte. So let's take a look first at the most important part of this. In that new 30-second promo for the Acolyte that was leaked on Reddit and then dropped on YouTube, it contained what is clearly the most important thing, the central character of the Acolyte, Vernestra Rose Lightwhip in action, whipping around and everything. So let's start with that. We had a very cleansing talk about the Lightwhip back when it was just a speculation, but now it is confirmed. So, Ken, I wanted to start there. What did you think of actually seeing this Lightwhip in live action for this brief glimpse in the promo?
I struggle with never remembering exactly what I said back when we discussed it the first time. I just don't remember prior episodes too well. So I hope I'm not counteracting anything I said, but I needed to see it. I don't like, TV spots and stuff kind of giving away too much, right? There's always one more piece that they give away because they need to advertise the show. But for us, trying to maybe go in as blind as possible while still having a podcast about Star Wars, I think I needed to see the whip because I needed to be convinced that in live action it was great, not just a book or a comic or an animation kind of thing. Again, never mean to talk down to those formats because I think they're equal, but it worked for me. It was just enough for me to go, okay, I'm on board. I got it.
Yeah, I mean, I think I do not recall any of us being particularly negative about the Lightwhip. I think
Right.
we transitioned from the discussion of whether or not the Lightwhip was going to appear in live action to some of the feelings of having a hard time keeping up as a fan, and how are people going to who didn't get a chance to read it and make an emotional connection to it in publishing feel about it in live action. I don't think any of us were particularly negative about the Lightwhip, and I'm certainly not. I loved it in the promo. I think I had a little bit of that. It's such a cool idea in the publishing. The drawn images from the High Republic publishing look cool, but there's a part of me that's like, man, if that isn't done well, there's a real upsetting lightsaber turns into a pool noodle, or did the ice cream just melt? Did the churro just flop? There was a concern to me that if it wasn't executed right, and we've all talked about there's been some ups and downs with with some of the special effects across streaming, Marvel, MCU in particular. But so it was great to just see. Not only did it look like good, to me it looked really cool because it frankly looks terrifying. Just the energy of it, in that it is like literally a whip. It's lashing out. The reach is suddenly that much longer, and it didn't have any of that sort of wah, 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 lightsaber melted vibe at all. It looked very dangerous, which is what's cool about it to me. So Jennifer, how did you feel about seeing a light whip?
I think that you make a good point, because the visual effects are key. And if it doesn't look cool or believable, right? If it looks too cartoony or like a video game, it will just take me out of it. And the shot that we got in the trailer, I thought was great. I liked the camera angle. I think that it really worked, right? It was kind of that bird's eye or view. I think that made it feel right. It was very quick. But there are already people on Reddit who have very strong opinions either way, which is interesting, right? I feel like I don't have a dog in this. Well, no, we're not going to say that, because that's actually that's a bad connotation. I should not say that. Sorry. No, I don't have any stake in this. I don't have any affinity to the Lightwhip. I don't have any I don't have any emotion to it. I just think it looks really cool. But there are some people on Reddit that are saying this is the Disneyification of Star Wars, which is like, okay. And other people who are like, yay, I'm so glad that they're bringing this to live action. So it's already interesting to see how divisive the Lightwhip is.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure somebody didn't like Darth Maul's double lightsaber, but then this has been a tradition since Kylo Ren in the Inquisitor and the spinning blades, and even Grievous with the lightsabers weren't different, but the whole spinning technique in Revenge of the Sith it's just a thing. It's a tradition in Star Wars, and it's exploring a richer time for the Jedi, where some of them are being a little bit more idiosyncratic. And it's even if you don't know the publishing story, you can look at that and go, "Wow, Jedi were real different," and had variety. So I think it's great on many levels, and I'm so happy it looks cool. In my opinion, that I'll go type on Reddit to make sure everybody knows.
I'll upvote it.
Oh, thank you. The Disneyification thing for me too is I think that's a valid and interesting conversation that's going on with Doctor Who right now. Of who knows? But also at the same time, I think sometimes now, hey, we're over 10 years in, right? We're getting there with Rebels. It's funny sometimes when people just have something they don't like. Star Wars, Disneyification. When they murdered the entire cast of Rogue One, all the characters in Rogue One, so Disney-fied. They had to Bambi's mom, everybody in Rogue One, so Disney.
We don't want to go to the 2-hour sidebar conversation with that, but that's number one. I find it First of all, actually, I'll start here. I think you touched on it too. I understand that statement sometimes in an overall arc. I don't think it's Disneyfied. I think it's modern filmmaking that Star Wars
Yeah.
and Marvel and all that stuff, especially the last 5 years. I get that conversation. But Jen, for you to say that the Lightwhip proves this, when the Lightwhip is like one of the most EU things I've heard been asked for decades.
That's a
And how
great
cool
point.
it was.
That is a great point.
And the
Yeah,
final
so-
point I'll say
yeah.
to too is often the people designing these. I'm not talking about Leslie Headland, but I'm talking about the people designing and executing these designs and weapons and everything are from Lucasfilm prior to 2012. So it's not Bob Iger in that shop. He might have some things he points to that he might maybe some chart of the investors say the Lightwhip should be this. Got it. If you think that conspiracy theory is true, but John Knoll's been there a bit.
Yeah. No, you should have seen. There was a couple people that got schooled by some other fans who were like, actually, the Lightwhip first appeared in the comics in 1985. And I was like, laughing.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
The Delrayification of Star Wars.
Exactly.
Yeah. So we're not moving on from the Lightwhip. We can't be moved
Yes.
on from the Lightwhip. We love discussing the themes and the characters and the meanings of the stories here. But all the sort of the fun, the cool, the weird space fantasy action is hugely important to Star Wars. And along those lines, producer Rayne Roberts shared this quote about the action in The Acolyte. One of the things we talked about really early on was action. And I really believe that in these kinds of shows, action has to be a character. It can't just be, give me a punch, give me a lightsaber fight. So I introduced Leslie to a guy called Chris Clark Cohen, who was our action designer and part of the team who worked on the Darth Vader sequence in Rogue One. For me, it's the best action the franchise has seen, and there's so much of it. So thinking of the Lightwhip, thinking of the pop of this, something cool and new and different and weird, combined with this quote from the producer, Ken, how important is the action side of Star Wars to your fandom at this point?
This is a great question. I'm glad you brought this up. You didn't know I was going through this, but I, on Sunday after our stream, had a very wonderful day up until the tragic ending to my day. Great time. And I was, the StarWars.com or Star Wars on social media released like the teaser trailer, which is a Phantom Menace, right? Which is one of the great all-time teasers. And I went back to a feeling I had in 99 when I first saw the teaser trailer. There's a shot. It's the Naboo hangar we know now. It's Padme or maybe Sabe and the guards firing, right? And it's classic Star Wars laser blaster sounds. And I remember watching that trailer in 99 and going, oh, good, that's still there. And as I've grown and love engaging with the themes and love taking what's in Star Wars and applying it to my life and your life and all of our listeners' lives, that's part of what we do, part of what we want. That's why we break it down on our Clone Wars Report episodes. That's why we'll do it for Acolyte. I am excited about this. And it's not just to me about lightsabers or blasters or anything, but I'm excited that we're going to be moving and grooving in a Star Wars way on screen. We love the action. Pew, pew, pew is one of the reasons we're here.
Right. Get some pews and some thrills and some zwhips back.
Yeah.
Jennifer, how are you feeling about the action and the weird space fantasy? Where is it at with your fandom?
I think that it's like, you're so right, Ken. I remember that trailer. And one of the reasons why I took my kids to see Return of the Jedi and not The Phantom Menace was because I knew it would hold their attention because of the action. And it's a terrible thing to say, right? There's a lot of great action sequences in The Phantom Menace, but because there is such a big age gap between them, I'm like, I got to capture the 4-year-old as well as the 8-year-old. And Return of the Jedi, it back-to-back action. The pacing is incredible, right? There's always something happening. But what I think is really important, which is what I love about Star Wars, is that it connects it to emotional beats, emotional arcs, high stakes, right? It's not just action for action's sake. I mean, occasionally it is, but one of the reasons why that Vader scene in Rogue One is so powerful is because it's fulfilling what we always knew he was like. We see him in his prime. We see him as this monster massacring people. And it's like, oh, that's what we've all imagined for years. That's what we all have read for years, right? It's powerful. And yeah, it also looks horribly. It's freaking cool, right?
Yeah.
So action is important. On the flip side, the sequence in Ahsoka that did not work for me, which felt like it was just all action, was the zombie trooper sequence. Didn't work for me. Whereas the sequence with Ahsoka and Anakin, that's incredible action, right? Because the emotional through line. So motion, and pew, pew, pew.
Yeah, I'm in a similar place where I always value the action in the spectacle, but I think the combination of seeing Phantom Menace on the big screen this past the 16th, I watched Attack of the Clones in the evening, which I usually normally like, I'm going to do a rewatch of this trilogy or that trilogy, but it was the anniversary and other people were posting. I was like, I'm going to watch Attack of the Clones, and I think it is something that shifts around a lot. But for me, the core DNA of Star Wars is it's an adventure serial with one problem after another, and that's what draws us in, the spectacle, not only the action but the design and that sort of space fantasy, that feeling from that original teaser way back when of 1,000 worlds. Is that you're going to see unbelievable things, and people in the 70s running around going, what Jawas, what the, and then they got tanks and they hoover up droids, and just this sort of the spectacle, the world building and the action is such a huge part of the DNA of Star Wars. And the longer that Star Wars goes on, sometimes it can be like, yeah, we've seen it. Cool lightsaber fight. Good job. So I'm with you, Jennifer, that the success of it is how much is it tied to the emotion, to what the characters are going through, to showing us who they are or what somebody else overcame. But there's also this challenge of, can you make an audience this many years into Star Wars go, damn, weird? And Acolyte is so poised to do that because they've got things like the Lightwhip. We've got in live action, we haven't seen this era of Jedi before. Even Mae's technique with the two little knives, or whoever that is different. So I think the spectacle is really important, and I'm glad that they're focusing on that.
Yeah. No, nothing major to add to that other than that's part of what there's so many parts of these teaser trailers, what we've seen so far, that we talked about it, but it takes me back to the Attack of the Clones. Lightsabers are out, Jedi are surrounded. Oh wow!
Yeah, exactly. I can't wait to see what other spectacle surprises are in store. The Lightwhip also represents collaboration between the publishing and live action side of Star Wars, the Disneyfication and the Del Reyification of Star Wars. Here's a quote that Star Wars Newsnet wrote, summarizing part of the SFX article, the magazine article. So I would assume these are not a direct quote, but rather a summation from Star Wars Newsnet. But they say, interestingly, the article reveals that Headland pitched this story to take place in an era that Lucasfilm was coincidentally developing separately under what was called Project Luminous at the time, and the two separate initiatives coalesced into something greater without either the shows or all the other projects developed for the High Republic multimedia project stepping on each other's toes. The creative teams actually regularly collaborated and integrated ideas from each other's projects into their own. So, Ken, how do you feel about the Lightwhip as a symbol of collaboration, of evolution in storytelling?
I do think it's great, and not just for High Republic, but for all the mediums, the ones that I stamped on and stepped on earlier, of comics, games, books, animation, and we have. We love all those things, and even if we're not engaging with them as much as we used to because of just time over here with the comics and books and whatnot. But I think we have seen a bit of a divide. Knowing that a lot of characters have crossed over and there's references and people show up here and there, and Dryden Voss show up in Clone Wars season 7 was cool enough for me. But this just seems like, I don't know, it seems like it's another level. The books that so many people love, and for good reason. And the Lightwhip, which had so much theme and purpose and intent to the choice of Vanessa Rowe having a lightsaber, to see it here and to hear the story, which we were kind of familiar with, but to hear some of the details of, Leslie Headland comes in, pitches this, they go, hey, we got this, cool, let's mush it together like peanut butter and jelly. It's just mush it together for a Star Wars sandwich that we can all enjoy. I'm really excited about it and what this could lead to. And I understood, maybe longer conversation. I understand going back to 2014, right? Yeah, the announcement of, hey, we're creating new canon. It's all going to be connected and mattered. I think those words were said. And I understand if people want to hold Kathleen Kennedy and anyone at Lucasfilm to that. But the reality was always going to be that as movies and shows continue to happen, as animation, I would say cartoons, sorry, animation and comics and books continue to roll out, we're going to have some crossover. We're going to have some things change. And TV and movies are always going to have a higher place on the list there on the hierarchy. So I like it. I think it means it's a small little light whip, but it's a big connection.
And who knows what other connections will be there. I don't think, as we're going to talk about later, the Acolyte is designed to be accessible. So I don't think it is going to be. And the ghost of this Jedi past shows up or anything like that from the High Republic. But to me, it was a great reminder that the way we perceive things as viewers sequentially is not always how they were developed behind the scenes, timeline wise. So this idea that one could look at the Lightwhip as cool, that was taken from the publishing and added to the television show. It might have been in the television show since 2021 when those of us who read the books first read the Lightwhip. So I think that's always important to keep in mind. I think we've talked about recently of sometimes people just have a sense that decisions are being made at a different rate than I think they actually are behind the scenes. I've had people say like Book of Boba Fett wasn't doing well, so they added Mandalorian. Like in 4 weeks? I don't think so. I think that was so. This was just a great, hey, it was a collaboration from the start, and the development train on these things are so long that it could be that Leslie had some meetings like, hey, we're doing a Lightwhip. Like, cool, I'll throw that in, and that was years and years and years ago.
I do like the suggestion. Sorry, I do like the suggestion. The Book of Boba Fett and the entire crew went, "F it, let's do it live. We're doing it live."
I love that.
Someday a live variety special with Din gets hit in the head as he is wont to do and has a dream, and it's a live holiday special. If you want to Disneyfy Star Wars, I'm in for that. The CBS variety showification of Star Wars. Jennifer, how do you feel about this overlap that the publishing and the Acolyte were kind of developed side by side?
I think it marks a new era for publishing and the live action, because for so long, the publishing side was just like the books, the comics over there, and everything that happens in the TV shows and the movies. This is, I don't want to say more important, but kind of held up as more important, right?
More people are going to see it.
Yeah, more people are going to see it, and maybe it might contradict what's happening in the books, and that's okay. And I feel like this is very different. It's like, no, we are working together. We are trying to make it cohesive. The books have just as much value as this TV series. And I think that that's wonderful. And I think people should also recognize, like, Leslie Headland is a fan of Legends, the EU. She's doing right by that. She gets it. Like, for people who felt slighted by the Disneyfication of Star Wars, right? She's saying no, like we're all coming up together, and the books are just as important. And maybe she pulled it from the comics. Who knows, right? Yeah. So I like that. I like that they're working hand in hand.
Yeah, no, I just think it's a great collaboration and a great reminder of timelines. I got one more Lightwhip question for you both. Jennifer, I want to start with you. If you had a lightsaber that did a weird thing, what would you want it to do?
I swear I was racking my brain. I have no idea. My mind went to crafting space. So could I use it to to cauterize things or to glue things together? I'm getting into needle felting. What am I thinking? This is Star Wars. I have no idea.
A glue saber that doesn't cut things apart but brings them together that's pretty interesting.
It's a little weird. Different function. Maybe I press a button.
I think it'd be a much deeper activation sound if a whole glue stick of energy shot out of your hilt. Ken, did you have thoughts on your weird lightsaber function?
Yeah, I want to go to the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy movie where Chillian, Zooey Deschanel's character, shows Arthur the little almost lightsaber knife that toasts bread as you slice it. So if I can get a lightsaber that has food function, that'd be good. But in terms of a weapon, and I remember we've discussed shields before, I think at some point, right? And someone was like, "Hey, it's in the books." I hadn't read that far ahead. But I'd like we have bows, we've seen them in some ways. I would even say Omega had some version of it. Ezra's lightsaber has a gun that fire, but I want the blade itself to and then it flips back and makes a bow. and you could just do, and you can touch it. You gotta have a glove, maybe. You have a glove, maybe
Yeah.
a kyber glove, and just food. Like it's a multi-faceted weapon.
Oh yeah, a little Beskar glove for
Yeah.
your
Oh, there
light
you go.
bow. Yeah.
That's what we need.
So
Yeah.
I think some people are drawing that right now.
Sounds very cool.
Yeah. I think I must have been cranky when I made this note, because like, what if I had a lightsaber that just had like a wheel on the bottom of the hilt, so I could just send it rolling across the battlefield like a violent little Roomba that cuts people's legs off?
Functional. Yeah.
Very
I like
functional.
that.
I don't
I
know
like
if it
it.
really represents who I am as a person, but
A light pinwheel.
yeah,
A light pinwheel.
a light
Love
Roomba.
that. Love that.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of beautiful things that can also be violent, let's talk about Wookiees. So we got to see in this 30-second promo a flash of the Jedi Wookiee Kalnaka in action, igniting a green lightsaber and force pushing what looked like a Torben to the ground. Ken, what's exciting to you about seeing the Jedi Wookiee in live action? We've seen a lot of Wookiees in publishing. We got to see Black Chrysanthemum, all that stuff. Many various incarnations of Jedi Wookiee, but in live action right now, igniting a lightsaber. How did you respond?
I'm glad you asked the question, because I think the first couple times I was, you watch things while you're also eating a microwave dinner or playing a video game, and you kind of look. I think I missed it. So when you asked the question, I was like, oh, I think I missed it. I love seeing it. I think we're already in love with Kalnaka, right? Like, we're already reading the descriptions, going, got it, feel this guy. Not to repeat what we just talked about, but for me, there's a little bit of going to Gunji and going to other spots where Buryaga, where a Jedi Wookiee has been on display, full action, full story, full character, but now we get to see it as if it was Peter Mayhew in there. Other than that, now you're lucky to have Jonas Wadamo there, but you know what I mean. Where it's like this is like the kid Ken going, oh yeah, Chewie with a lightsaber. I liked it.
Yeah, no, I think we talk often about we don't have any sort of value judgment of any media is better than the other, but there is also, for me, a reality of more people see live action. So it does also kind of feel like hitting the prime time. I think I was also really excited by seeing it because I loved the description that Kalnaka had sort of gone off on his own, maybe, to deal with some things. We've been calling him the depressed Wookiee because I think the shot in the data bank we have, he's just kind of in the woods, going, is what it looks like. So I admit I harbored this little fear of like, what if we don't see the Jedi Wookiee's lightsaber?
Right.
So
yes.
Seeing Kalnaka ignite a green lightsaber that reminiscent of the beautiful leaves on the beautiful trees back home on Kashyyyk, it made me very, very happy. Jennifer, you are a long-time Wookiee fan. How did you feel about seeing Kalnaka ignite the blade, use the Force in live action?
The Wookiee makes the difference, and to me, the Wookiee is the key to all this, because the show is darker in tone, right? It's maybe gritty, whatever you want to say, and so we see that in Andor. But the difference is we didn't have Wookiees like that in Andor, and not to say it was missing. That was its own thing. But I like when Star Wars is weird, and having a Wookiee Jedi is weird. It reminds us that it's like, yes, all this serious stuff is going on, and here's this big furry creature with a lightsaber. And I think it's so important. It shows me the direction that this show is going in, and I love it. I'm so glad that Kalnaka is there.
Yeah. Oh man, I can't wait to see him use the lightsaber and be depressed. We've been leaning into this a little bit, but I wanted to talk a little bit about, Ken, you said Chewie with the lightsaber. Chewie, in chronological time, and for many of our viewing experiences, is the original Wookiee. Other people have had different experiences. Maybe your first Wookiee was in a video game. That makes sense. But Wookiees have been having a good run. I don't want to be like, finally some Wookiee content. They've been having a good run the last few years of Star Wars. Black Chrysanthemum in the comics, and then in Book of Boba Fett, Gungi on the Bad Batch, Buryaga in the High Republic publishing initiative. Ken, what are you hoping for this Wookiee character? What do you want to be new or special or different about this Wookiee?
compared to those ones, it's a time on screen scenario thought for me. Maybe. I again, Chrysanthemum, one of my favorites. So happy to see again moving from comics to live action. It's not like this hasn't happened before. I get that, but he was there. He was a key part. Some great moments. One of my personal favorite moments is him and Garsa Whip. But whether or not Kalnaka's in every episode, I don't think that's going to be the case. I'm not saying that, but that there's some weight, merit, some Sherwook, that there's actual meaty conversations, that he isn't just, and you wouldn't bring Jonas back to just cameo as another Wookiee, right? That we're like, you got this character, but now this is your own. You get to do what you want, and that it has. There's meaty scenes with Kalnaka, that he's important to the story versus just one of many. Again, I understand he's not a series lead, not 8 episodes, but that we get to know him and that he becomes someone. We don't know the fate of these characters, but he becomes someone that we can invest in going forward.
Yeah, because I mean, hey, even if Kalnaka doesn't make it through, this season of Acolyte, we could have an entire. Maybe in 2 years we'll be getting all excited for the young Kalnaka adventures.
Yes,
on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
I want to share my thoughts real quick and end with you, Jennifer, on this discussion. I think I was thinking a lot about kind of Chewie's place, and you were talking about this, Jennifer, of kind of a symbol of Star Wars, a symbol of, in that very first film, of the weirdness, and that the weirdness can be scary like Darth Vader, or it can be fun loving yet a little intimidating like Chewbacca. But we're introduced to Wookiees as a sidekick, and in some ways kind of our moral compass. We love talking about the more you watch the original trilogy and the sequel trilogy, it seems like Chewbacca's often roaring probably what the audience is thinking of, like, come on, Han, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And then Gungi is our little pal that we want to keep safe. Black Chrysanthemum is like a terrible bruiser we're afraid of. I think what I'm hoping for in Kalnaka is kind of a portrait of the responsibility of power, because Jedi carry power, and that's kind of our introduction to Wookiees through Chewie. Of he seems so nice and friendly, but he's scary, and Han makes a big deal of, like, he can pull, Wookiees will do that if they lose, and all that kind of like scariness of how incredibly strong and powerful a Wookiee is. So for me, I'm really interested in Kalnaka, like, how much are they going to play up that, like, I can pull your arms out of their sockets with my arms, or with my mind, or just cut your limbs off with my lightsaber. I'm an unstoppable force. What do I do with that power? And seeing like a wise old Wookiee kind of wrestle with the responsibility of power was really intriguing to me. Jennifer, what are your thoughts on what might be new or different about this Wookiee?
That's interesting. The restraint that he has to practice because he is a Jedi and he can't rip your arms off. That's interesting. I'm not expecting much, to be honest. I would love if this character has a lot of scenes and has a great storyline, but sadly, I'm a pessimist when it comes to these kinds of things. But I do want some memeable moments. I would love some sad Ben Affleck moments that we've kind of already seen a little bit glimpses of, right? To see this depressed Wookiee, I can identify with that. So give me more depressed moments.
I'm with you. The fantasizing about the responsibility of power, I think, comes a little bit from seeing him depressed. It seems like we've been seeing some jumps in time. I think there might be a real inciting incident that affects a lot of the Jedi differently. And maybe Kalnaka is affected by, like, I just want to go away for a while. But you're right. It might be an extremely light touch. We might spend a very small amount of time with the character. And if all we see is a meme where, we can put, some Duncan in his paws, like he's Ben Affleck, then that's some solid Kalnaka content for me. All right. We are going to take a quick break, and then we're going to move on from the Lightwhip in the Wookiees to the mystery of the Acolyte. Back in a moment. And we are back to continue our discussion of the Acolyte, jumping into what we learned about the mystery of the Acolyte from that 30-second promo and the SFX magazine article. So the teaser features another image of what appears to be, and could not be, Mother Anastasia's cult. It's a group of hooded beings with dark eyes, swaying as if in a prayer or a trance. We also hear intercut dialogue that, of course, may or may not actually go together in the actual show. But we hear Soul, I believe, saying, "I trained her." We hear another voice, maybe Yord, saying, "Now she is a student of the dark side, an acolyte." And then we see a spoken line from Mae in an icy location saying, "I didn't do it, believe me." So there has been a lot of speculation about Mae's identity and Amanda Stenberg's exact role. Is it one character? Is Mae one of a pair of twins? Ken, do you think that answer will be revealed in the first couple of episodes? Or is the divided identity a central part of the mystery itself?
That's a good point too. I've been on team no twin for a while, but after maybe it's my Saturday morning routine of sitting and listening to Alex and Molly while I have breakfast and play video games, and they've been in my ear about it's a twin, right? Or that there's a lot of things that make you think, including breaking down the shot you're talking about, what some are saying a fugitive inspired scene, or you could even say Ahsoka and the Lost Jedi arc stuff. That there's enough differences that you can start playing out. So and it's like any good conspiracy theory. There's enough information for you to go, oh, I'm gonna just take reality and toss it aside because I like what you're saying, and it feels that makes sense. So if it is, I do think, not hope, I do think it's early, and that it's a plot thing in a good way. We're gonna talk a little bit about the how the show might be presented, but that it makes sense, and that even if we know, part of the fun is finding out how other people know.
Mm-hmm. Jennifer, what are your thoughts on Amanda Stenberg's role in if the marketing is sort of trying to get us to question, are there multiple roles? Is it a twin? How are you feeling about all of that?
Yeah, and Alex and Molly now challenged me as well. I saw some of their discussion, and I'm like, oh, actually, I think she is a twin. I was team no twin, and now I'm team maybe. And I think that the mystery of the show is whether she did it or not, as she says that she didn't do it. And if she didn't do it, is it a twin? And I think we're going to think we know the answer halfway through or early on, and then we're not going to know, and everything is going to be upended. And that's I love that. I love that they're already messing with us. That to me is getting me excited for what's to come in the show.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think when we talked about it, I was processing it mostly as a reaction to the poster, which is compelling but not slam dunk for me. But certainly now with this trailer or this new 30-second promo, it feels like it is trying to show us the actor in very different circumstances, different attitude, and hey, saying, I didn't do it. That's pretty clear when you cut from one shot. So clearly, I'm invested in this is a character that is dealing with some level of duality, which we'll talk about a little bit more. I kind of hope that because the whole thing is a big mystery, and I hope they're holding back a lot of footage, and we're only hopefully seeing footage from the very first few episodes, because that's always my preference. I hope it really is just kind of a tease in that this is clarified very early on, whether it's they're twins. We thought, thanks for the fun, Star Wars fans. They're twins. That's clarified in the first couple episodes, or it becomes clear in the first couple episodes that there's something weird about her identity, but it is multifaceted and it's not as cut and dry, and that's part of the show. I just kind of want to figure out which way it's going. Either there's a clear answer or it's a larger part of the mystery. So I can't wait to find out more about it.
Same.
So something that might also sort of affect the way that one looks at the Mae twin debate prism is this discussion in the SFX article that clarified that the structure of the show itself leans into ideas of mystery. Here's a quote once again from producer Rayne Roberts about the influence of the film Rashomon and its infamous storytelling structure that has been used many places over the years in Star Wars and in other storytelling. Here's the quote. Sometimes we are in the Jedi point of view, and sometimes we get to be in the point of view of the mysterious assailant. You might have thought something happened one way, but it's like, oh, wait a minute. This was a fun idea that Leslie Headland wanted to flesh out when we were developing the episode. It really speaks to the way her brain works. I tell people she has this puzzle brain, and if you look at her storytelling in Russian Doll, there's a puzzle that starts to unfold. Part of the way that puzzle unfolds in the Acolyte is through those Rashomon points of view. So this is really cool, really interesting to me, looking at Star Wars in particular, all the way from Obi-Wan's certain point of view quote through to The Last Jedi's 3 versions of Luke and Kylo as conflict. Star Wars has been interested in this idea of perspective, and your perspective truly changes things for a very long time. So a show taking this Star Wars idea and taking it a step further in making it really at the core of the ideas, at the core of the structure. What's interesting to you, Ken, about this perspective theme maybe influencing the structure of the entire show?
I think it's well thought out if this is the case, and this is a great tease, and Rayne Robert saying some wonderful stuff. I'm not super familiar with Russian Doll, other than I know what it is and whatnot. Maybe I have to do a rush job on watching that show before Acolyte premieres, or just talk to Grace. But I like everything that's being said. I like the mystery. This is going to be a horrible show for me when it comes to predictions, because I'm going to get people asking me on and off air all the time, what do you think's next? I don't know. I'm a simple man. When the puzzle pieces fall, I just wait for someone to put it together. But I love that. Even in some interviews, Leslie Headland's been like, "Oh, you don't know where this is going to go." So, which makes the twin speculation even more kind of fun to me. Of just like, the twin might be the simplest explanation that you might think of. This could go to a lot of places, but this is fascinating. I think, as much as the writing's been praised, and say something like Andor for being, a political Tuesday night 10 p.m. time slot show from the old network TV days, that this could be something new and special.
Yeah. Yeah. What are your thoughts, Jennifer, on the Rashomon nature of the show and being maybe even embedded in the structure of it itself?
This is what Leslie Headland does. And from watching Russian Doll, she is so many steps ahead of me when I was watching. I'm like,
Right.
oh my gosh. And I think, oh, I got it now. No, she totally changed everything. This is not a gimmick. And that's what I think people need to know who are not familiar with her work. This is how she thinks. This is absolutely essential to watching this show. It is a true puzzle, and it makes it so fun to watch because you really are piecing things together. And in some sense, you kind of just have to let go at some point. I kind of was like, I don't have any theories. I don't know. I'm just going to go along with the ride, which is going to be challenging for us Star Wars fans, right? But I like it. It's a great, great exercise.
Yeah, I'm very excited about it. The quote from Rayne Roberts about understanding the way Leslie Headland's mind work was that was really nice to read. I have a dear friend that I've done shows with for years and years, and we're still friends. And there was just one day where suddenly, like, everything about him clicked. He's like, "Oh, you see everything as a puzzle." Like even a costume change backstage is a fun puzzle for you, and it helped me understand sometimes when we approach things differently. It's like, why is he approaching it that way? It's like, oh, because it's really interesting to him if he breaks everything apart and puts it back together. And then I started noticing he sometimes does that just at dinner. We're just sitting there talking and he rips a straw apart and puts it back together because he's a puzzle brain. And I think that's the way some people are. And I think what's really interesting about this and comparing it to Russian Doll, I watched the first season, enjoyed it a while ago, so I don't remember it all. But I think, sometimes when you talk about puzzle, I think people can kind of take it as almost like it's a game, like it's a cozy mystery. And can you guess who done it first? And I think there is that element to it. But I think what's being said here in what I remember from Russian Doll is more, we're following a character. We're empathizing with that character. That character has a horrible problem. We want them to solve it. And because we've been with that character, we think, they got it. Because we want them to solve it. So then when we shift to another character's perspective, it's not like three people were at the crime scene. Who is correct? It's more about how much we empathize with the character when we shift position and now empathize with this character. Then it's incredibly clear that, like, wow, that wasn't the whole story. But it still felt like that whole story in the previous episode because we were aligned with empathizing with the character and wanting them to get what they want and need. That's what I'm really excited about of being able to watch an episode and feel like, well, this has got to be the answer. Like, hey, I thought I hated Yord, but now that I understand Yord's point of view, boy, I hope this is correct. And nope. So I'm very excited about that. And I think I'm also excited about how it relates to Star Wars. I know lots of people come at this from different points of view, but for me, always starting with a long time ago, it's a fairy tale. It's a story that's being sort of metaphorically, at least, told to us, which means the entire thing is up for unreliable narrator ideas. We've had Star Wars stories that have literal unreliable narrators. So I'm really excited to get into that of if there's going to be any level of we kind of actually can't trust what the person's saying, not even out of lying or malice, but out of we all do see things differently. You know, one Jedi might see a Sith and just not accept it, or not believe it, or they have that information from a secondary Jedi that we don't believe. Yeah. So I'm really interested in all those unreliable narrator games. Ken, you have thoughts on unreliable narrators in Star Wars?
I love it. I mean, you know, that's one of the key ingredients to Game of Thrones and Westeros and all that kind of stuff, where it's definitely perspective, but it's definitely about who you trust, who should you trust, and playing upon that and realizing it is all from their own experiences. And that's present in Star Wars and present in a lot of other places. It's part of the puzzle to me, right? It's another piece that I enjoy of it. So I'm excited about that in Star Wars because this has been joked about already by us and others, but like already looking at that trailer, I've got that. I don't trust you, but I do like you, Yord. Maybe I don't trust you. Oh no. Oh no. Yeah, and that's just fun. It's part of the action vibe too for me. You know what the simple little things that you love about this stuff.
Yeah, no, all sights on Khmer because of that Sith code. Right. I trust Yord to be a stick in the mud. Jennifer, how do you feel about the sort of unreliable narrator perspective of Star Wars that we are hearing somebody's version of this story?
I think it is interesting because I think it's challenging when we like a character. And then the more that you learn about them, you're like, actually, they're not trustworthy, or I can't trust their version of events. Maybe they have a motive, right? That's when I think it becomes challenging. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I don't know how I feel about Yord. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
Poor Yord.
We're already hating on him.
So much Yord angst already.
Poor guy.
I love to be upset with stick in the mud Yord. So certain of the Jedi are you? And I say that as somebody who loves the Jedi. They just kind of question themselves a little bit. Speaking of questioning things, we've been dancing around some of the speculating. But Ken, we can talk about twin, whatever. That's a little bit of guess of sort of what the answer is. But I want to talk about the why. If Mae's character just does represent split identity in any way, a twin, a clone, maybe she's possessed by the cult when she's doing the murders. What's the value of the split identity theme? What is the power of that in Star Wars to you?
I think it is dealing with the realities of our own world, the realities of these characters in Star Wars, but keeping it in the myth realm. I sometimes bang on about how I don't love the idea of, well, it's all gray areas, even though I do. Even though, yes, because that's real. I think Star Wars has a statement on where you end up, and your actions and your words and your choices lead you to choosing something, even though it isn't black and white. In fact, Obi-Wan has some words on, absolutes. We all know that. But what I mean, it's just it's really a character study. And if they use it in some mythical kind of way or some kind of cool story device or plot device or something like that, like that's going to be fun to explore what is inside of us all. Even if things you aren't aware, if it is, like you said, I'm up for a little bit of the prediction being she really didn't do it because she doesn't know she did it. That kind of stuff can be explored. We do have some witches around. I don't know if these are the spell witches. I don't know. We'll find out. But some of that stuff happens. But how you use it and what it gets to, they have not shied away from duality being at the center of this. And as you take that lens and focus it on the Jedi, who are definitely have chosen a direction, chosen the light, but they're still real beings. They still have their own complications and yes, gray areas. But this is an analysis possibly of how you navigate that. I love that idea.
Yeah, no, I love what you're saying. Gray areas are real. I think it is
They're
a
real,
matter of
yeah.
how do you choose to deal with them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I do love that possibility of it is the same character, and you've seen Jedi mind tricks. How about months-long force fugue, where you truly don't remember
Yes.
your actions?
Yes.
That would be pretty fascinating. Jennifer, how do you feel about the split identity as not just a guessing game, but a theme for what the show's about?
I wrestle with it because I think you're right, Ken. Keeping it in the mythical realm is important because it keeps it a little bit, I don't want to say lighter, but my mind is like, oh, could this represent mental illness or depression? Kind of like the Babadook, right? Where this thing, this being is always with you and you can't get rid of it. So that's really heavy. And I don't know if I want my Star Wars to be going. I mean, Star Wars kind of does play in those areas,
Yeah.
but a little bit higher above the surface. I don't want to go to the bottom of the ocean with that, which you very well could. So I think making it a little bit more like, oh, the Force Witches conjured up this other part of her and took a piece of her and it became this other being, right? That has, I don't know, that has a mission. I like that. I don't know about this idea of mental illness and depression, which is where my mind went.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think Star Wars it is such a fascinating case study, and I've had conversations with friends about the more mythological, or frankly, the more pulpy. I think the more that Star Wars can talk about ideas without necessarily drawing too uncomfortably close of a one-to-one to the real world, and keep it largely in the realms of we were talking about larger ideas. Now, of course, like the actual creator, George Lucas, was not subtle in some of his one-to-one naming of, Newt Gunray and Lot Dodd, and putting George W. Bush's quotes in Anakin's mouth in 2005. Like, there's a part of Star Wars that is sometimes like, yeah, we really wanted to make that veil thin. And that does happen sometimes. But I also think, like, when we're talking about the kind of the deep, the mythological, the pulpy, that I think there is going to be an idea to be like, there's a power in Star Wars that it deals with such darkness, such horror, but a part of the magic is it's a safe place to play with it. That's how I kind of wrestle with. Darth Vader's awful, and no one in culture seems to have much pause at all about giving kids bed sheets, and cuddly toys, and daddy-daughter books of Vader and Leia, and like, that's not what's on screen. I mean, Star Wars has this magic of playing with darkness that I would love to see continue with the Acolyte, and I think that's what I'm excited about for however it is represented in the show, just the split identity, because I think Star Wars is really interested in that dark light dichotomy, and that truth that we all have the potential to be kind, empathetic, helpful people, and to give into our understandable rage and lash out. And it's a constant battle. You don't just decide and win. It's a constant battle. So to take that big idea of Star Wars and sort of dial it into, that's the main character. That's maybe the mystery is really, really cool for me. And I think it could also, if it is a situation of twins, it could also be a very interesting ongoing sort of nature versus nurture of, if there are twins and one of them got taken by the Jedi and one of them didn't, and that's an issue, that could be really interesting too. So to wrap up our Mae talk for this episode, Ken, what is your wildest Mae theory?
My wildest Mae theory is that it is one person who does not know, and that's not my own theory. I'm just, of all the things that are out there, I like that. I don't know. I like that. I mean, years ago, I wrote a script with my buddy Matt Key that had to do with that kind of sleep in the sleep of the just, somnambulist type of sleepwalking. You don't know who you are when you're doing it, and you have to wrestle with that and wrestle. It could, that's how you could tell a story of identity, right? If Mae is one person trying to find out who she is and who they are in this world, like in this galaxy, like what better way to do it where I'm doing two things at once? Who am I? Like what's going on? I think that could be key to this story. But again, I don't know, and that's what I like. But I think that's where I go. But again, I have to own for reasons I don't fully understand because it is Star Wars, where I'm like anti-twin on this particular show. I don't know why. Love twins, no twins, got no problem with it. Luke and Leia, all right in my book. But like where I'm just like, I don't know. It seems like it's telling us that, and I already don't want it to tell us that. I want it to be something else. We'll see.
Do you think you have any sort of instinct that you don't want it to be the obvious answer?
Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, but then that goes to your question too of, well, sometimes the obvious answer in marketing means we're just going to be like, yep, it's on the table, and then it's going to go somewhere you don't expect. And that's exciting too, based on especially these quotes we're reading today. But yeah. A little bit of it's the obvious answer.
Yeah, because I want Star Wars to play more with the twins idea because it's so central to Star Wars in many different places.
It is,
Luke and Leia, obviously. So if they announced the Acolyte of a tale of two twins who took different paths, I'd be like, all right. But yeah. I'm very open to it. Jen, do you have a wild Mae theory about what this duality identity is?
I'm anti-twins. No more twins. How many twins can we have? It becomes like a soap opera. The evil twin and the good twin.
You got Arnold and Danny DeVito. What else do we need in culture?
What else do we need? We're done. We're done with twins.
No more twins. I will go into a dark place. I would like it that some sort of trauma happened to her and a part of her split off and became this I don't know, this evil force. And in order for her she can't rein that force back in until she heals her past trauma and is able to kind of like heal herself. And then the thing comes back and sucked back into her and she's whole again.
Ooh, yeah, I love that. Maybe there is a twin, but the twin is also innocent. And the one twin is possessing the body of the other twin.
Yeah,
and
there you go. Okay.
Both think they're innocent.
I like that.
I love this.
There's some rich stuff. This is like got a lot of rich ideas about, classic, like even Jekyll and Hyde stuff. Like, do I have that in me? Do I want to have that in me? All that stuff is so great. This is totally jokey. I don't think it's actually true. I think she's a self-replicating clone that automatically divides if she kills someone after midnight. So a little bit of Gremlins lore mixed in there. Just another Mae pops into existence if she kills someone after midnight. You gotta watch it. Kill somebody by 11:59 p.m.
I like something with we've had a lot of cloning in a wonderful way with Bad Batch, but there's something about that. Very prestige. I like that.
Yeah, a prestige.
The movie. Well, the movie. The movie. The Prestige. The movie.
The Prestige. Oh yeah, I like that.
Oh yeah. Oh yes. Yes.
Oh.
I watched that recently. Anyway, we're gonna move on to the future and accessibility of the show to a larger audience. The SFX magazine article also discusses a potential season 2 of The Acolyte already. Here's a quote from the producer. We're not backing into anything that's pre-decided. They're new characters. All of their fates were up to Leslie and the writing room. So it's going to be really fun. I hope to see where they go. There's some things the show points to. We've got to get back to the writer's room for season 2 to see where we're at. We have some initial thoughts about what we want to do, but in terms of where the story will ultimately wrap up, that hasn't been quite nailed down yet. Jennifer, how do you feel about a season 2 being floated in an interview with the producer, but not officially announced or confirmed by the company? Does it change how you'll watch this first season?
I am not going to assume anything. I think that I need to see the show and see the arcs and see the characters. And honestly, it will kind of tell whether it needs a second season or not. For me personally, I did not need a second season of Kenobi. It felt complete as season 1. Book of Boba Fett, even kind of same thing. I mean, I would like a season 2 of that. But I feel like, yeah, if there's more stories to tell, some unresolved drama, then give us a season 2. Bring us a Solo 2 still. I'm waiting for that. So we'll have to wait and see.
A lot of sequel watching. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ken, how do you feel about this discussion of a possible season 2?
What I loved about this quote in that season 2 thing was, what you all have talked about, Jen. I remember I've heard you say this a few times of, hey, outside of the Skywalker saga, which is said a lot, and I've sometimes stubbornly hold on to no. I need some ATSTs around. Let's do this. I love this. All their fates are in the hands of Leslie Headland and her team. That's pretty exciting. That's pretty new for Star Wars in a way. There's been a lot of characters along the way that we don't know, but we had a pretty good sense where Kenobi's going and pretty good sense where this. But we here have championed that idea of good. It's a character analysis. Yeah, we know Kenobi survives this fight, but what's going on in the fight is the story. So I love all that. I think that's going to win, but that's kind of exciting stuff. Season 2, I don't expect anything these days in the streaming world, and I like though too. I don't mean to make a snarky, but everyone needs plans jokes, but I just made it. I like that this is how these shows are put together. We might have some ideas, but we're going to see where the characters take us.
Yeah. I think for me, it will affect how I watch the season to hope, based on this quote, that this story will resolve. And if there's never any other Acolyte storytelling, that it will feel complete. But maybe there are threads that could be picked up. I don't really want to say the name of the show because I don't want to spoil it if anybody's watching it. But my wife and I watched a streaming show as 10 episodes, and we finished the last episode last night. And not only it was a show that balanced comedy and drama, and the last 15 minutes were just gut punching bummer. And then it ended just entirely on like 3 big cliffhangers. Like I'm talking 1980s, who shot so and so. Evening soap opera cliffhangers. And so the first thing I do is Google, is there a season 2? Like all the actors would like one. And it's, I understand where creative, people are being put into that it's hard to get something, to get a second season, and you want to, enlist your fans by going, I want this last episode to be a write-in campaign. But it isn't satisfying for me as an audience to wonder if I'm going to be left hanging. So what I'm saying is I love that what the producer is saying, in my opinion, is this is a complete story. Boom, story ends, and then there's kind of a looking forward of possibilities, which is the way I feel about both Book of Boba Fett and Kenobi. I would like more because I like those characters, but they both feel like complete stories, and they end with the characters kind of looking off at their next adventure, and we can see that adventure or not, but it isn't a cliffhanger. An unresolved cliffhanger. All right, moving on to our final thing to talk through. This is a quote about how much Star Wars lore you need to know, once again from the SFX magazine article. The quote says from the producer, the show is a gateway. You don't need to know anything about Star Wars to be able to drop in. We want to make sure the season has an ending, some catharsis, but you always want to leave the door open. So that is relating to what we were just talking about, but also a pretty bold statement about if you're going to put a rating on how much canon lore, this one's a G, not an NC-17, like possibly some other Star Wars and Marvel shows have been. So Ken, do you think or hope that Acolyte will succeed in being really, really open, a new place to step into Star Wars and reach a wider audience?
I absolutely hope so. I'm absolutely hopeful. Coming out of London, it was the thing I kept saying I'm just so excited for. I keep saying now, even had a conversation over the weekend that was like, hey, like it's going to surprise people. I think it's going to surprise people, meaning there is always with Star Wars the fear of and fandoms overall with the IPs that you love, right? I can assure you from the Game of Thrones world, like I even have drifted enough from the world of Westeros that I don't feel qualified to talk about it online sometimes, because I'm like I can't Viserys 2 or Viserys 3, I can't remember, and you feel just naturally and you can't have that for a show like this that I think is helping to launch a new era, meaning we're definitely in live action. We are definitely have all new characters. There's things, familiar things. Maybe Yoda will show up, of course, because he's always potentially there. But it's all brand new, and you can just engage with that. That's clearly valuable. It's clearly valuable to the franchise going forward, and I'm excited to explore that with them.
No, I really agree. That idea of like, well, absolutely anything can happen to Kelnaka, and we don't have any anxiety of like, well, Jedi Master Soul can't say that to Yord because Yord doesn't know that 20 years. Like, we don't have any of that, right? That's we've got a little bit of this whole Sith question,
the Sith thing,
but beyond that, we are so wide open what happens to these characters, and I'm really hopeful for a little bit of a repeat of Andor, because I think general vibe from not as in the bubble fans, but a little bit more general Star Wars fans was like, you mean the guy who died in Rogue One, why does he need an origin story? And then I remember as the weeks bubbled on and people tuned in and went, damn, I'm really hoping for that too. But
yeah,
for, I think this show is going to be, have certainly dark moments and be thoughtful in that, but it's also really leaning into the pulp and the space fantasy. But other than that, I think it's going to have a similar Andor-like effect where a couple weeks in, people are going to be like, well, damn. And you're going to see a lot more talking about it on Facebook and where the older people hang out on social media and things like that. I'm very, very hopeful for that. Jennifer, do you have hopes that the Acolyte will reach a wider audience?
I have hopes. I've been seeing the billboards all over town in Los Angeles. But the at the end of the day, it's going to be word of mouth. And I can only spread so much Star Wars joy and love to the people in my life who don't watch Star Wars, because they're like, well, what do I have to know? And if you don't have to know anything, right? Like, it's great. I mean, I think thinking of Andor as the goal is realistic. Thinking of the Mandalorian as the goal is not as realistic. That Mandalorian just went beyond to people where I was like, you actually like Star Wars? Like, you would actually watch a Star Wars show? Like, that was shocking to me, the normies in my life that love the Mandalorian. So I don't know. I'm really hopeful. I think it's going to be a great show. I know I'm going to love it. We're going to love it. But will the wider audience? At the end of the day, it's going to be word of mouth. That's what it will come down to. So we'll see.
No, I think you're right, and you're very right to bring the Mandalorian into it, because that first season in particular really was that dream, multi-quadrant, and people didn't feel like they needed to be super aware of who these characters were, and that was really great. I'm really excited and hopeful for lots of people to give it a try. I think because of the quality of Leslie Headland's previous work, I have a lot of confidence in the quality of it, because it's dealing with, complex themes and ideas and providing the great power of the spectacle of Star Wars. I think it's got a lot in its corner. And starting to see those billboards, and I'm looking everywhere for the individual posters that people have been posting on social media that I'm sure will pop up in LA. I'm just kind of getting this old school fun tingle of summer of Star Wars. We've had lots of great holiday times of Star Wars, but Solo didn't crush it at the box office, and a lot of it was consternation in that. So, man, if there's just a several week television show that everybody's excited to be talking about and joking about Yord, we have a summer of Star Wars, that would be fabulous.
Summer of Star Wars, I love that. We're about to start our endless summer campaign on the oldies radio station I work for. So now we have Jedi Summer.
Jedi Summer, that's right. Yeah. Ignite your blades and go to the beach for Jedi Summer. Is there anything else in either the trailer or article that you wanted to discuss, Ken?
Nah, really hyped for this. Super hyped. I need some Star Wars joy in my life right now, this week and beyond. We always need it. And this has been something that's been cooking for a while. I mean, what they said 2020, right? This was an Investor Day 2019 announcement, right? Right?
I think I don't remember
that time, or maybe the one in 2020. I can't remember. But this has been years, and I'm so excited.
Yeah. Jennifer, any final thoughts?
I'm really excited. I'm trying not to read too much into the trailer or really any of the theories on my beloved Reddit that I dive into, because I want to go in fresh. I want to just enjoy it, have fun, and come up with my theories as I watch.
Yeah, no, I agree. Let's just go in and see what Jedi Summer has in store for us. Very excited. Ken, you want to take us home?
I do. Thank you all for listening to us and being patient as we have to adjust the release schedule for life and other things. You can find us on social media at ForceCenter Pod. Facebook page is ForceCenter Podcast. We are available on a lot of spots as a podcast. Just search or find us. Sometimes I list them like Acast, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcast, and Google Pod. Oh, nope. Google Podcast is gone. I forgot. They're removing it. It's gone. You need to go to YouTube. We'll work on getting our RSS feed on YouTube as well. Oh, the podcast world is changing. Merch available at tpublic.com/user/ForceCenter and patreon.com/ForceCenter is where you can support us directly. From there, you can get into our Discord and discuss Acolyte every week with some wonderful Star Wars fans and friends. You can find me at Ken Napzok. Go to my website, kennapzok.com for more. I do have my shop open for a couple more weeks if you want some personalized copies of my book or some other stuff that's for sale on that tab. Check it out. Jen, where can they find you?
You can find me and my evil twin at Jennifer Landa on all the social media sites for the most part, and TikTok at Jennifer Landa 1138.
Love that. Please do a little video TikTok sketch with a evil twin goatee that you can use there as well. Joseph, thank you, sir, for getting me through this day more than anything. I appreciate you. And Jed, let me grieve. Where can they find you?
Yeah. If you want to see my pictures of hashtag Hot Jedi Summer, that may or may not be upsetting. We'll find out. You can follow me on all the various social medias, the ones that have hashtags and maybe the ones that don't. I'm spending a lot of time on Blue Sky and Threads, so come find me there, as well as Instagram for updates on all the other stuff I got going on in my life, including some filmmaking adventures. You can check out my blog that's called Finish Your Monsters. Find a link to that on my website, josephscrimshaw.com. That is it. The news has broken.